Hey guys, what is up? Phaedo82 coming at you with some Rust gameplay. We're bringing you some more free cam raid footage in this particular segment. This is not as much a raid as it is a beef over an airdrop. So some players who are in the small house here with the spikes obtained an airdrop and stole it from a larger group who's fairly dominant on the server. The larger group are comprised of very experienced raiders, and when I came upon this moment happening in game, I thought for sure that these players in the house were doomed. There's a lot of things that the players in the house did wrong as far as building the house, but there's some things that work to their advantage, surprisingly. So we're going to go ahead and talk about some of those things, and as always, I hope you guys enjoy the video. And one of the biggest mistakes that these players made is that they first put a window on their side of their building, which is also right by a rock. That is a horrible building decision, and also through the window you can see their building cabinet, which also is a very poor building choice. These may be new players, so I'm not knocking them in any way, but as you can see, this player has come up on the rock. He now has a line of sight into their inner base, and he's firing in there, just ripping them apart inside the base. The players inside the base are dying multiple times over and over again to this player, so the player has essentially used the natural formation of the rock to keep these players at bay in their own base, and they're essentially trapped in their own base. You can see that the players in the base don't have much options at this point. They're pretty much just stuck in a corner, and that, guys, is why you don't want to build a base like that and have a window that goes into a room where you're going to be sort of spending most of your time. You can see here, guys, more raiders coming down the hillside to help out the other player who's down there. These raiders have the base covered from all points. They are really using teamwork to their advantage. They have it covered on the high ground, on the low ground, and then at the window as well. There are now two players coming up to the window, and they're raining holy hell down into that base through that window. I believe they're trying to take out the building cabinet inside. They're shredding the players inside and probably trying to get through the window as well. And the raiders attempting to raid the base are really working well together. We have one guy working on the wall here. We have two on the rock covering the players inside. And there's also another couple players who are up in the hills covering the high ground. So they're really working well as a team. This group of raiders really has always impressed me. You'll notice that the player inside just turned the wall that player was working on to metal. So it was a stone wall that was about to be broken through, and it has now been turned to the sheet metal. You can again see inside the corpses of the players. They are completely bottlenecked inside that base. They're trying to hide in the corners, and the raiders are trying to get through with their weapons. So they're going to break the window down, and they're going to attempt to jump in. Again, guys, this is a bad reason why you don't want to put a window in that particular type of location, especially on a rock that can give you access to it. You'll notice one of the raiders just hit the spikes on the top of the base. The spikes are what is essentially saving this base right now. Now, guys, windows are extremely hard to jump through. It's not that these guys don't know how to do it. No one really can do it perfectly the first time. If you do, it's just pure luck. It's very glitchy, and it's tricky to do, especially when there's spikes surrounding the house like a porcupine. So don't knock the raiders for not getting through the window on the first jump. Just about no one would be able to do that. I certainly can't. So the raiders are taking damage when they jump up into the window, and they're hitting the spikes, which makes it more difficult for them to try to get through that particular window. And you'll notice here, guys, one of the raiders who was attempting to jump through the window has now fallen into an area where he is stuck between the spikes and the wall. He's taking consistent damage, and he can't get out of that particular area. He's just bled out and died. This goes to show the advantage that you can have if you put up the spikes and what difficulties that brings for raiders. I'm really glad they put the spikes back in the game. Anybody would have trouble with those spikes, so it's not a reflection on this team's ability to not raid well. This team is absolutely top notch. You'll notice that this player here is looting his buddy. He's not losing his cool over it. And also up top, this group has a player up here who has been doing Overwatch the entire time. Knivex, this player here, has not moved from this position during the entire raid. He's been covering his group with a bolt-action rifle, and he has a line of sight on that front door. And if those players in the house choose to open that front door, Knivex is going to take them out probably with one or two shots, and those guys are as good as done at that point because of their base design. And once again, Knivex has not moved from that position. He is the consummate professional up there, staying steady and just putting his eye on that front door. The Raiders back on the rock. He's got a line of sight again in the base, and they're doing some gunfire with the inhabitants of the house, who are trying their best to defend this little shack against these experienced group of Raiders. And they're doing a fairly good job. They're keeping their cool inside, which I'm impressed with. The base itself is a very tricky one because of the spikes and the placement of the rock. It's easy to get wedged in places and start taking damage. The spikes also work against the people inside as well, though. And you'll notice too, guys, the Raider down in the side of the base there has not left his position either. He's hoping that someone will poke their head out the window and he'll be able to get a shot on one of the inhabitants of the house. See how the spikes stick through the ceiling of the house? This is how it works against the homeowners as well. So if they jump up, I'm fairly certain that they're taking damage from those spikes as well. So those that's not really the best placement of the spikes. It's certainly giving them protection from the Raiders, but they're also just as much prisoners in their own home due to the placement of those spikes. Nivex, again, is still doing overwatch on that front door. And the players inside the base continue to maintain their calm. They have been opening the door recently. I'm not sure what their intention is to do that, perhaps to lure some of the other players out to possibly get a headshot on them. But that's probably a really poor move on their part, considering that their front door is their only door, and if one of them gets taken out, or both of them gets taken out, there's a very real chance those Raiders are going to get into that base. This player is now stripping down. I'm not sure what his motivation is, but he's probably going to try to run out the door or jump out the window and maybe give out the locations of the players to his friend. Or perhaps they're going to call in other players through either TeamSpeak, global chat. Not really sure what their intentions are, but you can see the Raiders have every angle covered. And he opens the door, and boom, with the headshot, Nivex takes him out. The door code lock was green for a moment. Now it's red. That was actually intense. That was a good save on the part of the people in the house. That door was wide open for a minute, and that code lock was green. Nivex was right on that with a bolt and took that player out. We're back in looking at the players. I've cut the clip ahead, and the players have re-geared. They're, again, trying to wait out the Raiders. The Raiders have come back. I believe Titty Milk down here, one of the Raiders, is trying to get his body, or I'm not sure what he's doing on those spikes, but he's taking quite a bit of damage. I'm not sure if the homeowners ran out of bullets, but it looks like they're down to melee weapons. He's back with a pistol. And again, they're just a waiting game at this point now, guys. It's how much effort the Raiders want to put in versus the reward. And the Raiders still have the base covered from every conceivable angle. Great teamwork on their part. And we have a gunshot up here. It looks like Nivex is getting attacked by a random person with a spear. It may have been somebody that the homeowners called in. Nivex takes him out quickly. And Nivex's teammate Prov is there ASAP to help his buddy out. Great teamwork on the part of the Raiders, as always. Night has now fallen, and the Raiders are carefully considering whether or not it's worth their time and effort to keep camping out the base. The Raiders went out for an airdrop, and they didn't intend to raid a base. I talked with one of the members after the raid, and he said that they didn't have enough tools with them to get through the wall, which is why they didn't get through the wall. He said if they had came prepared with their raid gear, that this base would have been no problem at all. At this point, they're saying that, it's not worth their time for whatever may have come out of that airdrop. It's not worth their effort at this point, but who knows? They may come back and finish the job. Anyways, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. I'll keep bringing you footage like this if you find it helpful. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of these free cam raid videos. Phaedo82, peace.